Kicking it off, I just want to say, I told you so, Katie and Derek. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. They had no chance. She's trifling in these streets. Okay. So actual conversation. There is so much to talk about with Katie and Derek for this reunion episode. I think at the end of the last podcast, we basically all had the same opinion that they were probably going to say yes, but break up in the time that the time between the decision day and reunion.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him at least a year.
Really?
I did.
Oh,
I was wrong.
You believed in love. I see you.
Wasn't it like 2 weeks into them living together?
Yeah,
that's what they said that. And like you could see her like indecision on decision day. Like he said all these nice things, and she looked at him, and she fell right back into that trap of like, well, maybe. And then here we are 2 weeks later. Like, girl, you already know what the problems were.
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to do?
I really.
But at the same time, she did basically say, "I'm going to break up with you," while they're at the water, and they.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
No mystery of it. Like.
She did. She gave all the warnings. She made it very clear. So to kind of rehash over the reunion episode, we find out that she cheated on Derek with her ex, the one that was mentioned many times in this season. We also found out that they continue to live with each other because they had the lease. Even after they decided to be friends. And also discovered that someone on the cast told Derek that she cheated while they were filming. I think after the honeymoon is what he said. And he didn't want to reveal the identity. And he was being very cautious and protecting that person's identity. So let's get to it. What's your thoughts on this train wreck?
Train wreck, really though. I was disappointed, honestly. Like, I was with Derek on the question then, why'd you even say yes on decision day if 1 week later you slept with your ex, and 2 weeks later you want to get separated and eventually get divorced? Like, you obviously knew this 2 weeks ago then.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was just so shocked by everything, even though I know I shouldn't have been. I was just so shocked by how quickly it just like all like flipped. And it was just like so frustrating to be like, where is this? What's happening?
For sure.
Yeah. And like we talked so much about her ex and how that was going to go. And, where like we really needed her to be completely committed to being married so that she could leave that in the past and really give it a shot. I don't think she ever really did. I think she was half in each relationship. And there were moments where it seemed like her and Derek were so promising, and they really did have some good foundation that they were building. Like they were having all these moments of like being able to address issues together, like the stuff about like him putting her on his insurance and him talking to her family to get family photos, and all the fights that they were able to somehow resolve and then move on from still. And then this is the way it ends up. Like they had so much potential, but I think we're really seeing that Katie in particular was not ready for this. And she was not she was not open-minded. She was not, ready to put in the work and put her ego aside and like try to grow and learn. And I never would have thought that she was the one I'd be the hardest on at the end of this. Cause I've been like team man-child Derek, like just giving him a hard time. I felt like that would be the issue, but it was really her. Like he was actually pretty chill the whole time. Yeah. And like, he wasn't perfect, but like overall, I feel like she contributed to most of their issues, and he was surprisingly receptive to her being like such a jerk sometimes.
Too much.
Like,
too much receptive.
Yeah.
Like it felt, ironically, she mentioned the whole never been in love thing. And I think earlier in the season, we kind of had I think we did a really good job of breaking down. Maybe it wasn't the whole love situation. Maybe she was concerned that he's never had a serious relationship in the past that he was willing to fight for. I think that actually, because of that naivete, he didn't realize how bad of a relationship this was. Like I
Yeah.
am so
He didn't
worried.
know.
Good point.
Like I think if she didn't go to this extreme, he would have continued to try to make it work and apologize for her bad behavior and all the awfulness.
Yeah. I feel like she was just so upset that he wasn't this certain type of guy. And she just beat him over the head with that, like wanting him to be a different person and punishing him for not being that person. And like that was where she put her frustration, like the way that Zack did the opposite and he just completely withdrew into his little hermit shell. Like Katie was just like, no, screw you, and like put all this aggression, not, I mean, hopefully not physical aggression, but just like anger was so directed at him all the time. And so like a part of me was just surprised. Like you could tell at the reunion, like he was way past his breaking point with her. He was over it, and he
Finally.
He was pissed.
But like I was surprised he didn't get to that point earlier because she was really not treating him well.
I will say it seemed to me like Katie was more about the infatuation because she kept mentioning, this is how I know what love feels like. This is not it. I know I've been in love before, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It sounded to me like she was more focused on, well, I'm supposed to be all giddy about this person all the time. It's supposed to be so easy. I'm supposed to be over the moon. And yes, it sounds like you may have had some sort of love for someone in the past, but also sounds a lot like infatuation because you saw them very attractive in the beginning. They, had these kind of like, maybe it's like suave moments. I don't really know what it was, but she was just so much about like, similarly, ironically also, to Zack in the sense that I'm supposed to like him right away. I'm supposed to, no doubts about it, want to be jumping into the deep end. And then ironically, who goes on a date together? Anyways, that's for later. I will say though too about Derek, I was hoping, I guess, for a little more out of him. So he clearly was hurt. I don't know if it's heartbroken, but he was hurt in this relationship. And he definitely took a lot out on Katie during the show. It sounds like they had reunion, like they had met up with each other at some point in the past, had dinner before the reunion and planned out what they're going to talk about, etc. But
you mean she tried to threaten him to not mention the cheating? Like, look at Katie Mobster. She's like 5'0", and you're going to be threatening people out here. Like, really?
Goodness. Listen, I know where you live.
Like, what is she, 80 pounds? Like, what? Like, you're threatening people? Really? I'm supposed to be intimidated by this? Lord.
Hey, if you can get someone's mind. Don't underestimate people.
Art of war here. I see.
But yeah. But I also, like, there have been times that we saw Derek be a little more mature and a little more like, I got this. And then he kind of just like, which I also felt bad. He kind of just like spent the entire reunion episode just like lashing out at Katie, like, you hurt me, but not actually saying those words. You know what I mean? Like he kind of like tried to play it off like, no, I'm fine. You didn't hurt me, but I'm going to be nasty to you because you hurt me. I'm like, okay.
I have.
It was bad.
I have 2 points on them. They're both theories that I'd like to float out to you guys and see what you think.
Are they conspiracy theories?
They're not conspiracy theories. Well, they kind of, I guess, as close as we get to that in this type of show. But the first theory was, I think, and I have no proof to justify this, so this is just me wildly speculating, but I think part of the reason why she was on this show in the first place was she confessed her feelings to said ex. The ex did not reciprocate. And then she goes, all right, then forget you. I don't need you. Applies to this show, gets on the show. Yay, wonderful. She's on the show.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Beautiful. Where did that accent come from?
Beautiful. I don't know, like my Greek all of a sudden? I don't know what that accent was. But, and then gets on the show. The ex mentions, oh, I still have feelings for you. And now she basically was putting Derek in a situation that he had to win her over. She's mentioned this a few different times.
Oh my God.
You need to win me over. Essentially, I'm already taken. I have this person that I like. You have to convince me that you're worth keeping. Um, and I don't know if, well, I'll just end it there. So what do you think about my theory? Do you think there's anything there to this suspicion, or am I just wildly, I'm just grasping for straws here?
I mean, I definitely don't think that she was ready for this experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't seem that far fetched to me to say, like, yeah, maybe she applied for this show kind of on a whim after a breakup or just a disagreement with her ex. And because it seems like they weren't like totally out of each other's lives
Mm-hmm.
until really her wedding day.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's not a good place to be in to start a new relationship, particularly a marriage to someone you don't know yet. You're like turning your life upside down,
Yeah.
and you're really not emotionally ready for something like that. So I could maybe see it.
I think from what I remember in, the first few episodes, she was really like, that's why her and her ex didn't work out. She wanted marriage and he was not there yet. So it could have been on a whim, but at the end of the day, she was very much fixated on, I am ready for marriage. I may only be 26, but I know what I want in life. I am ready to settle down. However, when we kind of go through the season, you don't actually want marriage, do you? You kind of want to date, you want to flirt, you want to have fun, you want to live your life, and you want someone to chase you, and like all of these things of dating, not actual commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And it may very well be she was on that, I just got my heart broken because I wanted to move on to the next step, so I'm applying. And then as the phases of, breakup and getting over that breakup go through, she's like, maybe, that's not what I wanted. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah. One of the parts of the reunion episode that kind of made me laugh really hard was when Derek turned to her and he just kind of like nodded over. He was like, yeah, she made it really easy not to fall in love with her.
She did.
And I was like, damn, that's real. Because like that's his whole storyline is like, I want to fall in love. I want to have my true love story and all this kind of fairy tale stuff. And she was like actively fighting against that the entire time. Yeah. And I wonder how much of it is because she was paired specifically with Derek, who's a, in it specific with all his specific person with all his little quirks and everything, or if it's just that she wasn't ready for this whole thing and she thought this is what she wanted. And in the midst of it was like, marriage is really the thing you're not ready for, but we're just going to say that like, no, Derek was the wrong fit, but yeah, I'm still ready for marriage. It's all the men of the world. It's their problem that they're not good enough or ready for like me or something. Cause you're totally right. Her actions, she like seems, she wants that chase. She wants to like be going out. She wants to be doing all the adventures and stuff. And like, that's totally, that can be part of being in a relationship and being in a marriage. Totally. But it's hard to imagine her, talking seriously about like having a family or like doing the kind of serious things that would come along with marriage, where it's much more like, yeah, we're like picking an area to settle down into, or maybe like buying a home sometime. We're talking about finances and all sorts of boring stuff, but like that's what marriage would be. But that didn't, there seems to be a mismatch between what she says she wants and what it seems like she actually did want to go after. So like, of course, we're going to end up at the end of the road where you're both upset. Yeah. You weren't actually going for the same thing.
I love how you guys are really giving her the benefit of the doubt, and that's awesome. And like, I appreciate, like, that's part of the reason why I enjoy doing this is like, I think, yeah, we give them we try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, but
she's faultless. I'm saying like that's where she went wrong.
Don't worry. Don't worry. You can give her the benefit of the doubt. I do not. Like, I think she reminds me of like when kids are trying to lie to you, or like, and like they think they're being really clever and they're being really smart, but you can tell and you just kind of let it happen and you're like, okay, yeah, no, you're right. You totally didn't finish your Halloween candy, and you can see it like in their back pocket or something. Like I really think in her head she was thinking like, oh, I gotta make him chase me. Oh, if I do this, the ex is gonna want me more, and blah blah blah. And then you end up with no one, and you end up looking like an idiot
You
and
end up
awful.
unhappy.
Like that conversation she had when they were at the dock or with the making the little locket, there is no way you can tell me she knew what she was doing. She was trying to let him know I have options. That was her theory. Her whole thing is I have options. You need to chase me. You need to pursue me. Meanwhile, we'll get to this later, but like she literally puts nothing into the relationship. And I love that the host asked her like, what did you do? And she gave a bunch of non-answers about I initiated hard conversations. What? What did you do tangibly to help? But that's aside from the fact. So I think in her head, she really thought she was playing this 3D chess situation, and it's just baby math, like just transparent and easy. And I just found it so frustrating to see. And even the like during the reunion episode, she refused to take blame. She was like, "Well, he there's a lot of things that he could have done better. You cheated. You cheated. Oh, he could have. He was going out a little bit more, so I didn't feel happy about it." How does that change the fact that she was the one who cheated? And even the storyline of he we don't really know, but he mentions that basically she told him she wanted to take a break and be friends, and then weeks later he discovers that's because she cheated and felt guilty. Like all this little come on, like if you don't want to be in it, it's fine, just leave. Don't try to play this little game. You're not fooling anybody here.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though, is again, she's trying to paint this picture that she was the mature one, and because Derek was so immature, she couldn't handle him and manage all his childishness, and so she was out of there. When the reality is, she freaking loves drama, and she is a drama queen, and she is childish in a lot of ways in the way
Yeah.
that she responds to things, and that is completely at odds with how she sees herself. So like there's a lot of stuff where she is fighting herself on it. Where like the way that she wants him to chase her, I don't think that's just like, hey, like I made dinner for you and it's like your favorite food or something, or I, set up this thing for us to do. She wants it to be like the roller coaster of emotions that like typically happen in younger relationships, where it's just like, oh, I like punched a guy in the face at a bar for you. Like that kind of BS where it's just like, oh my God, he was like looking out for me or something. Like I feel like that's something that she would be
Yeah.
really like
Yeah.
into, as like messed up as that is, where it just gets to the base of it. She wants to be absolutely sure that the person she is with cares about her and like wants her. And the only way she'll believe it is if it's a super extreme thing that this person is doing.
Mm.
And so what her ex did when he was just like, actually, I do want you. I do love you. I do see a future with you. And she's about to get married. That probably made her like him even more
Yeah.
than he was like straight up like, yeah, no, I don't know. Like the drama's done then.
Yeah.
But like, I just can't, because she never set herself up to be successful. And she also set up Derek to just be disappointed.
I got the impression that she just wasn't being in the moment a lot. And I know we've talked about this because she was like so fixated on, should I go back to my ex? Should I stay with Derek, etc. But I felt like we didn't, and this actually happened with a lot of couples, we didn't really get to see the real Katie just exist, in this relationship. And it ended up to their downfall, right? You have a relationship you're trying to think too much through and calculate how it's supposed to work. And well, I don't actually have both possibilities, her ex and Derek, in front of me. So I'm just going to like try to think of what it would be like with both. And it's just like, you're just doing too much. You only have one life to live. You have one day at a time. Just please live in it and let things happen as you best would make you happy like go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of felt like she just wasn't really doing that a lot.
Yeah. Do you guys think that she was cheating on Derek like throughout the the time that they were filming and right after the honeymoon, like that was kind of alleged and she denied it?
I
Also, who do you think it was that told Derek?
that
Oh, who told Derek?
I mean, Mika was like, it wasn't me. So clearly it was one of the girls, right?
I don't know. Was it though? Like,
yeah, like
who would she tell?
it could have been the cat. It could have been producers, technically too.
Well, no, 'cause the way Derek was like, yeah, it was one of the other cast members, but I'm not going to name them.
Oh, okay.
They want to speak up.
Oh, I missed
I
that.
don't even know who it could be. I thought about it, but and then the first thing I thought of when he said that it was another cast member, I was like, I hope it's not one of the girls because you all got tattoos together, like you have this bond for life, like.
I mean,
And now we're seeing multiple times that Katie is going to get drinks with the husband who never wanted to show up in the house, and some other girl may be telling Katie's business about, which may or may not be true, to Derek. It's just like there's a whole lot of drama right now going around with these girls.
Yeah.
If it is one of the girls.
And can you even imagine being like just hanging out with Taylor and like the way that some of the stuff that she did with like the video and everything, like to her that was okay. So when you talk about your relationships and your experience on the show, how do you not address that? Like no one on the show was perfect, of course, but it's hard to imagine how those must have gone, or even like how Katie and Taylor probably have a little bit of beef because of the drama at that like little weekend thing where supposedly Taylor and Derek were flirting, in air quotes. But
I don't think, if anything, it'd be like Katie in her own head being like, oh, he, and you did say this actually when we were talking about that, it'd be like Katie's nervous that her partner is going to like Taylor more. Taylor, I don't think cares, because
I know.
Just it's
imaginary. It's imaginary drama here.
Yeah. To answer your initial question, though, I don't think she did physically, but clearly there was communication going on between her and her ex. So I think that was a larger factor than even Derek knew. Because when you think about it, like she was so hot and cold. I'm sorry to now that I think about it, was it she cold because the ex said some, you're the only girl for me, I miss you, blah 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 blah, and now she's looking at Derek like he's in the way of true love, like I'm looking at her pea-sized brain at this point. I'm just like she could. That's mean. I apologize, but it's just it was so frustrating seeing that, and so yeah, I will say no, but
yeah,
other forms of cheating.
I don't know. I don't really think so. Only because it was only 2 months in the grand scheme of things, and if she's gonna go sleep with him a week after filming, like she probably really missed him and is like reaching out right away. Like if that's, or he reached out to her, I don't really know, but it sounded like a lot of the conversations she had, like Pastor Cal and the girls in the bachelorette party. She just missed him a lot, and so if she's gonna miss him a lot, it's probably because she's not with him a lot. Or, communicating with him a lot. So it just kind of gave me the impression that she just always thought about him and almost became like fixated about what could be and did I make a mistake? And so as soon as filming was done, she's like, all right, now I really got to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could totally see that. That seems a lot more, like it's a lot. You remember all the good things and you romanticize the previous relationship. And I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ashley?
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that she went and like slept with him right after the honeymoon or like when at least they were filming, but I could definitely see that she maybe had some communication with him still. I think that might have kind of shown up in the hot and cold way that she was treating Derek, where it was like, if things are looking promising with the ex, then she's more critical towards Derek. If it's not looking super promising with the ex, then all of a sudden her future with Derek is so bright and she's all about him. And, they're having all these good moments. I could see how that might play out, where she's kind of just like weighing her options. But I think it's hard for me to believe that she was out like sleeping with him or like doing that kind of stuff. I don't know, that just seems like a stretch to me. But I have to say, I did do a little bit of snooping around on her Instagram and like reading up on her, like everything that's happened since the show. And apparently now she's dating someone new, and it's been a little bit of time, but she's now dating a 28-year-old Air Force officer. And when I saw that, I was like, Agu is going to say, I told you so, because you kept saying that she might like want to be with an older guy who's maybe a bit more mature. Like they seem to be like, they're a cute couple and they seem very happy with each other. But I was like, I mean, for you, Agu, you're right.
Oh yeah.
He's 28. How old is he?
28.
And she's what, 25 or 26? She's
26, I think. Right?
Okay.
And this would have been, so maybe approaching 27 now.
I was kind of thinking a lot older, though. I was kind of thinking like someone...
Like 38.
Yeah. Like I was thinking a decade or something. Maybe.
And the other thing that I saw, which made me laugh, is if you remember AJ from season 8. So he actually defended her a little bit. And so if you remember, AJ was the one who was like real bitchy to production and like was just kind of just taking out his stress in all the wrong ways.
He could do the filming much better than the whole
filming better than everybody there. Did you know? He defended Katie, saying that I think they had like some brief exchange or something, and he liked her, and he said he thought she got a shitty edit, that they had, you know, painted her out to be the villain. I was like, look, if if that's the scraps of what they put together to make her villain, that's plenty. We understand. We see Katie fully. You don't need to act like that was like some little puzzle they put together for us of like, oh no, actually she was this wonderful person and super kind and gentle the whole time.
Honestly, I think the host could have been harder on her. Like I think he was a lot harder on Michael and Brandon, who's not even there, than he was on her. So like yeah. But
speaking, so speaking of the host specifically, when they did have the conversation though, it seemed like he was like really trying to get the most out of Katie and Derek. Be like, listen, we want you to air. And Derek like took to it. He was like, yeah, we may have talked about not talking about a whole lot, Katie, but we're gonna let them know the facts.
You're gonna hear it today.
I was like, all right, Derek. All right. Airing out everything.
He was just like over it. And he had held it together for so long. I was just excited to see him just be like, nah, I'm done with this. Like, I don't owe you anything now.
Yeah.
What do you think, though, about the progression of their relationship?
Unfortunately, frustrated me quite a bit. I think I had, at one point I don't remember which episode, but I was yelling, whatever happens, it's on you, Derek. You're still in this. So clearly he frustrated me quite a bit. And I appreciate I think he is like almost a poetic, like he's such a romantic, and someone out there is going to appreciate that and be happy. But clearly that's not the right match. And then really super quick thing, I still think hanging out with her, Katie, would be the best person to hang out with in real life. Like she seems super fun. Like I would want to be friends with her. I just wouldn't want to date her, if that makes any sense. And I think she, like personality wise and the way she speaks her mind, those are all like cool attributes. And it's just learning how to mold that and use that the right way is the whole thing.
Yeah, I had such high hopes from them in the beginning. I felt like they were, a cute match. They both seemed pretty genuine about what they were looking for. Just like I was saying before, I think Katie's expectations for the whole thing, the timing of when she was doing this with her past relationship kind of not fully being over, and just her being matched with somebody like Derek, who's perfectly fine person, but just has that boyishness that I think she really dislikes. I think they hung on to the chemistry that they had in the beginning, like the honeymoon. They were, I think, one of the first couples to like get intimate, and they were all over each other, all about each other.
Strong cuddles.
Yeah, just like gushing about each other constantly, but then their fights were just as strong. And so eventually that just wasn't enough to sustain them, and she just could not get over the ex thing. She couldn't get past this is the man I married, and I made this commitment, but I just cannot with him. And they just couldn't get past it. And I understand why. I don't think they should be together. I get that now. And I don't know. It's tough when like they seem so promising in the beginning, because you're like, oh, this could actually be something really cool.
Yeah.
But once you get into the details of their lives and how they see each other, it's like, that's a lot of stuff to overcome. And you have to really want this to spend the time with it to fix it and make it work for the long run. And they just weren't down for that.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you at the beginning. There seemed to be high hopes. So from what I saw, and I know I really liked that they weren't afraid to, have some disagreements in their relationship, because all relationships, all couples argue. Mm-hmm. And I was happy to see that we were getting a couple in this season that wasn't going to be extremely easy, perfect, all happy butterflies all the time, and destruction on the other. You know what I mean? I was happy to see that we had some bit of in between there with Katie and Derek, but as we got to see more of the arguments, they really did turn into some nasty fights and just not really being nice to one another anymore, and not really having respect for one another anymore, which I will say, I think had they maybe been a little more open with some of their feelings in their discussions, it maybe could have been resolved, because I think we saw as this season went on, Katie was just being less and less honest with everyone around her. And so, like, for example, with her dad, she'd always say that, it's because Derek's a child, right? But if you're really being fully honest, like, that's a really nice excuse when you actually want to be with your ex. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was a little bit frustrating to see as time went along that they were giving less and less. There was less honesty in the relationship and less respect, and just fizzled out very clearly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So to recap a little bit what happened with Meka and Michael, Kevin really got into some of the dishonesty that...
There was dishonesty?
I know, right? I didn't catch it. But Kevin really got into what Meka was most frustrated about with Michael and his track record of dishonesty, right? And really got into, well, this is how she felt, and, talking about their relationship as something that really never got off the ground because they couldn't get through this, right? Mm-hmm. So if Michael's first response is, I don't know what she's talking about. I was great in the relationship, and I don't know why she's uncomfortable and why she's mad.
She was the problem.
Anyways, past all that, past Michael denying it, he eventually did apologize and was, since it seemed like sincere in his apology. And then Meka right back apologized to him about also being a little harsh on him, because we saw that as this went on, she was just completely fed up and didn't want to hear his side of the story. And whatever he covered, she was like, I just don't trust you anymore. I can't really stand to be around you anymore, basically. And ultimately, she also apologized for being too harsh on him. So that was really nice to see. Mm-hmm. And then when we go to the part where all the couples are together, Michael's defending Brandon as his only really friend on the cast, and Meka's going to town on Brandon, basically. So they're on, again, opposite sides of the discussion. And what else is new?
Right. I know, it like went from them apologizing to each other and being cordial to the minute they were with the rest of the group. Like the minute that moment had passed, it was back to just like rolling the eyes and being like, well, of course he's going to do this. Of course she's going to do this. And like all this. I mean, I get it. Like if I had to sit on a couch with my ex and, hash out things that have happened, and like that would be awful. Like who would want to do that? Like all of them are probably, except for Jessica and Austin, who are in their little bubble in the corner. Oh, I got a new ring. But like, that's got to be so weird for them. Yeah. Everyone else is like broken up and super upset.
Austin's face was like, get me out of here. Get me out of here.
What have I done?
He's like, y'all okay? Like, Yeah. Yeah. So it didn't seem like anything really that we haven't talked about already came up with them. It was just like, yeah, he was dishonest and he cops to it sometimes, other times he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. But then I feel like so much of the storyline focuses on how Michael lied. And they don't focus at all on how Meka also had things that she didn't do great. Like she didn't you, he asked her to be vulnerable and he asked her to be more
Yeah.
sympathetic when he has these family issues with his uncle passing away, and she just kind of was like just took the notes and brushed it under the rug and then went right back to the script of Michael's lying. And
Mm.
so I feel like it wasn't super fair how all the attention was focused on him and his
Mm-hmm.
mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't really they just seem to paint the picture of like her as the wronged woman who was put with this lying man who
Mm.
dragged her through the dirt and gave her this terrible experience, and not really talking about her part in it.
Yeah, definitely. I think you guys have both summed it up. Like nothing new happened in this. Like the same thing, the same stories, the same lies. I'm not lying. This, that. Like the montage they did of all his many lies were kind of funny. Like I gotta give credit to the editors for that. That
They
was
had fun
very.
with that.
They did.
They did. They're like, here's another time. And if you still needed more information, I just want to give you another time where you lied.
And another, and another. Um, yeah, um, I think I feel like I should apologize in terms of Meka because um, I think I was a little focused on the way she was treating, like that she wasn't giving him a safe place to open up, and I think that was really off-putting to me. But I think at one point in the show, Dr. Viviana asked her, like, "Are we seeing the frustrated Meka?" And I think that's what's happened overall. Is just we never got to see her real personality. Like we just saw her angry every single time, and and I think part of that was like she didn't like him. Part of that was just I think she felt that she missed out on the experience of this show because she had a partner who wasn't worthy, to her in a way. Um, so I see that. I do think Michael. I know he's the villain in this show. I know everyone hates him. I think there's goodness there. I think he's still a good guy. It's just he's dealing with a lot, and this show has shown that. And um, like when we kind of look over the lies and stuff like that, a lot of them are just stupid, meaningless lies that aren't even worth. Like at a certain point, it's like, what's the root cause of this? Like whether or not you are a yoga instructor or you actually go there once a week, like what that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I think this all came down to just he didn't feel worthy and he felt like he had to embellish himself
Mm-hmm.
to be in a relationship. And hopefully with this show, he, learns that you can just be yourself. And if like, I think in his head, he was worried if he was himself, Meka would say, "Oh, I don't want that." Well, that's fine. If she doesn't want you, then you guys aren't for each other, and that's okay. And you can find someone else. Like Meka isn't the only woman in the world, and you're not the only man in the world. That's completely fine. And I'm starting to realize that on the show, like a lot of our conversations were like, "This is a marriage. They need to make it work," and all this type of stuff. This isn't a traditional marriage. Like, if you know it's not going to work, you have, in my opinion, you have every right to call it off in this experiment. So I think Meka and Michael, or at least Meka, knew relatively early in this that this wasn't going to work. Call it off. Like, why put yourself through all of this if you know it's not going to work? Zack and Mindy, and also, like, if you know you can't get over a certain thing, that person's not going to change. Just, it's okay.
Yeah, for Meka and Michael, I was surprised they didn't call it off earlier, just
Yeah.
because like they were at each other's throats and you want to be around each other, and like, then why are you still trying? Why
Yeah.
wait till decision day? Does
Mm-hmm.
it matter?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna not be together anyways. You don't want to keep trying to make this work.
Mm.
Um, I want to spend some time talking about too, and maybe we can save this for when we talk about Brandon and Taylor, but about the Michael and Brandon dynamic there, and how, because Brandon wasn't present at the reunion, which we'll get into later, Michael really had to be his voice. And he felt, one, pressured on the spotlight that, like, I'm speaking for this person who's not here. Two, he also touched on the topic of these are the only two black men on the cast. There are other black men around. But when they're talking about the marriage specifically, it's only them two. And that also brought an element of pressure there. And there's something that then, when he was in that moment, just kind of this pull of, do I defend him? Do I not defend him? What do I do? This is the only other black man that's in one of these 5 marriages. And,
Yeah. Okay. I guess I think personally, I think it's unfair that they put him in that situation. Um, and also, I think it's unfair that they expected him to defend. Like when Mika went at one point, she's like, "Well, of course you're not going to say anything bad. That's your boy." Yeah, I'm not going to say anything bad about him in public. If I have problems with him, I'll talk to him in private. Like that's not a
Mm-hmm.
bad thing. That's a good thing. That's a so I just and you could tell maybe he didn't agree, but he didn't feel comfortable enough talking about a legal matter. And I I completely understand his feelings on that. And maybe he could have done a better job like walking out. I think he should have set boundaries and said, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable talking about this." And then when the host, because the host is great at this, so he's going to try again. And when he does, you say, "Again, I said this earlier, I don't feel comfortable talking about this." And that's it. I think the
Mm-hmm.
walking out and that wasn't necessary, but he wasn't in the wrong in my opinion.
No, I don't think so either. I like it. I don't think it's ever cool to have to speak on someone else's behalf, on their life, their choices, their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And just because Brandon and Michael had this friendship throughout the show, like we saw them, talking with each other a lot about their own relationships, and they didn't do that as much with the other guys. And so I get why they would target Michael and try to get some intel,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like he's I think that showed like he has a little bit of a moral compass there where he's like, this is my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And even though this is a reality TV show and I'm on a set right now and y'all are trying to get like the, dirty details out of me, even though that's what's appropriate for this situation, that's not cool with me because that's my friend and that's not what I would do
Mm-hmm.
to somebody who I care about, whether or not I agree with their decisions. Like you can have someone you care about and not agree with their decisions and still not talk shit about them. And like it just seemed, I just really hated how they were so focused on getting intel about Brandon from Michael that they weren't even talking to him about his experience anymore. It was just like, what can you give us about Brandon?
Mm-hmm.
Not how did you feel when this happened? Or what do you think about this? Or literally anything specific to him. Because once they were like, Michael's the liar, then they just shut down. They didn't ask him anything.
Yeah.
And they didn't give him a chance to talk about his experience. And now he has to be the voice for Brandon, who's not even there.
Yeah.
And like he's sitting right next to Taylor as well, who's the ex-wife of his buddy.
Yeah.
And so he's between his ex-wife and the ex-wife of his buddy, who are like, it's just, I really,
Yeah.
I was cringing really hard in those moments because I was like, this isn't okay. This is not okay how they're going after this man. It's just not fair.
What I thought I noticed in all of that, it became one, a venting session about Brandon, really.
Oh, so true.
Right. And then also, there was never really a conversation about actions. It was, well, I've already made up my mind about Michael and about Brandon and about Taylor. And everyone on the stage, I would argue almost except for Michael, were like, well, I'm going to argue my point because I already don't like him, And so even though I do think that Michael didn't agree with some of Brandon's actions and, yeah, he didn't agree with some of them, he was trying to be voice of reason, play devil's advocate. I'm not which one I want to use right now, but all in all, saying objectively, this may or may not be how we paint it because we already have a lens of not liking Brandon. The thing also, I see him because he struggles with honesty. He struggles with that, like almost like confrontation part of being honest,
Yeah.
like being
Absolutely.
fully there with your feelings and your thoughts. And so part of that conversation, Michael was just avoiding a lot of things, which maybe, his way of saying, I don't want to dog someone on stage, but he almost also just didn't want to be honest there either. He just didn't want to play like objectively speaking, this is what happened and this is where he went wrong and this is where he maybe didn't go wrong. And so afraid of being honest,
Yeah.
afraid of being, fully out there and also not trying to talk poorly was like,
You guys think about Meka and Michael, their relationship over the course of these 15,000 episodes we've just watched? How many? 17? Long season. Mabel, what do you think about them, the course of the whole season?
I felt like it was just hard to watch after a certain point. At first, they're my favorite couple. I loved their, strength, and Mika's very driven and strong individual. I liked that about the relationship. And then it just quickly died. And I was just like, it just started to become painful. Neither of the two want to even try anymore. Neither cares about the other person really. And it's just, oh, please just change the channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also, in the beginning, I was really rooting for them. Like, they just, on paper, they looked perfect. And, uh, yeah, Michael was saying all the right things, and Mika was really cool. And I was like, this is going to be great. I think they have a home run here. And, um, what was that, episode 2? It went downhill from there. And I will give them credit. They did not quit. They definitely tried to make it work. They probably should have quit, but they definitely tried. Um, and I will also say, I think they will both learn from this experience quite a bit. Probably Michael more. Like, he needs to learn about himself a lot more. So I think he's definitely going to learn, that he can love himself more. And I appreciate that Mika was such a good friend to some of the different people. Like, anytime she was dealing with other uh, cast members, she seemed amazing and like super smart and insightful. And so there's a lot of good there. It's unfortunate they didn't work out, but probably for the best.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked them so much in the beginning. I also felt like they were a really good pair, like they were going to do really well. Obviously, we didn't know about the different hangups that they were going to run into. And especially how quickly things fell apart for them. It was like literally on the plane ride to their honeymoon, and it just went downhill from there. Like, that was kind of it. So it was really hard to watch them because it was just this cycle of kind of being okay and then having some misinformation come out, Michael lying or his exaggerated truths or whatever. And then they kind of resolve it and then it just ends up with another one. And at a certain point it was just like, I understand that y'all are just going to try because this is a marriage and you believe in marriage and take it seriously, but yikes, they really could have pulled the plug a little bit earlier on it, and I think would have both been a lot happier. Yeah, I think that they're gonna hopefully be able to take some of the things they learned from that relationship into their next one and be happier and better. Hopefully, not marrying them at first sight, so they can ease into it a little bit, build some trust, hang out a little bit, go on some fun dates, not have it be so serious. So yeah, I wish them both the best. I just think they weren't really a great pair for each other, so it's that's what it is.